So today's presenter is Laura Dyas. She's been working within the non-profit community since 1991. She's an extensive background in grief and loss and work in the state of Michigan. Laura started her non-profit career in the adoption field, working both domestically and internationally too. She's known for her advocacy work for all members of adoption and spoke before the Michigan Senate working to change the state adoption laws. Laura also spent 13 years running a women's crisis centre, helping thousands of women faced with unplanned pregnancies to actively change their lives. She created a GED program, helped her clients find employment, and wrote an educational parenting curriculum. Laura began her career with the Scleroderma Foundation Michigan chapter in the United States in 2008 and as an executive director. In 2017, she began working for the Scleroderma Patient-Centered Intervention Network, known as SPIN, on a contractual basis, and is serving as the Director of Training. And I have the pleasure of being one of Laura's students through her SPIN Support Group Leader program, and it gives me great pleasure to welcome you here today, Laura.
Thank you so much, Louise and Janelle, for inviting me and providing me with the opportunity to talk about grieving. And the topic tonight, I gave it the name of Grieving is a Non-Linear Process. And the reason that I did that is because no matter what you are grieving about, it isn't one way. It's not like you're down the highway of life and it goes straight. And that's what we're really going to talk about today. As you can see out of the PowerPoint, there's no rule book. There's no time frame. There's no judgment. And grief as an individual, you're going to do it the way that you find works best for you. Do what's right for your soul. And while this is a difficult and a challenging topic, we're going to take it very slowly, very compassionately today. And as Louise said, if you have questions, pop them up in the chat and we'll take them as we go. Next slide, Louise. Louise gave my my bio. I have a lot of training in grief and loss, and some of it came along with my life and some of the challenges that my beautiful family you see in front of me, some of the things that we've endured. So just like all of you, I've had grief and loss in my own life. So it put me on a journey. I got a master's degree in counseling. I have extensive nonprofit, a degree in that. And I also have training in grief and loss. So I'm a therapist beside, working with the Scleroderma Foundation in the community. Next slide. I gave you a little bit of an agenda, and I don't want you to look overwhelmed by all the information, but we're kind of going to break down what is grief, kind of key points about why it's nonlinear. We're going to talk about 5 stages of grief, and then we're going to look at some of the really specific points about grief: shock and denial, our emotions with pain and guilt, anger and bargaining. We're going to look at depression. And depression, not talking about clinical depression, but what it feels like when you get diagnosed with scleroderma, what it feels like when you're sad. We're going to look at the upward turn stage, the restructuring and the working phase, when we finally get to acceptance and hope, the important aspects of accepting grief and loss. We're going to talk about how not all symptoms are created equal. And I'm sure if you've been in the scleroderma community, you've heard everybody talk about how all of the journeys are different. That's true with grief and loss. Not all of your grief and loss symptoms are going to be created equal. So you are going to grieve differently than family members, caregivers, friends, and even people in your support group, if you belong to one. We're going to talk about how do we face grief? How do we face loss associated with being diagnosed with scleroderma? We're going to look at some important points. We're going to talk about positivity and why being positive is important. And how do we do that when we're grieving? Because that seems kind of confusing. You know, why are we talking about positivity when it's challenging? Things to remember. And then a really important part of this is communication. How do we communicate with caregivers, family members, and loved ones? And then the 3 C's of grief. And then we're going to have a question and answers. So lots of good material. I hope I cover things that you guys are looking for. If not, we'll get to it in the Q&A. Next slide. So to start out with, so we understand what is grief. Now, grief is going to be different to everybody, but at its core, grief is the process of coming to terms with the new reality. Something such as a diagnosis or someone that you held dear is no longer present. Things have changed. You became diagnosed with a disease that maybe you couldn't spell, you couldn't pronounce, you didn't understand what this was. And that began the grief journey. Or you've lost someone or something close to you, and that began your journey. It involves a range of emotions, reactions. Heart and head are 2 different things, and we're going to talk a lot about the heart and head today. You know, you're going to grieve the way you do based on your past and your present experiences, based on who helped you along your life, who told you what grief looked like, and what experiences you've taken from that and where you are today. But there are a lot of common emotions: sadness, anger, guilt, anxiety, loneliness, emotions that we don't like. We're not always comfortable with them. Physically, grief can manifest itself as fatigue, changes in appetite, sleep disturbances, and other stress-related symptoms. Now, the problem is with scleroderma, a lot of those symptoms share, and we're going to talk about that. How do we know if we're grieving or if this is just part of our journey, or could it be a medication? Next slide. So grief doesn't come in a set order. You didn't get diagnosed and suddenly you started following denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and then bingo, you got to acceptance. Because some people don't have the ability to get to acceptance. It takes time and it takes your own journey to get there. It may be 2 steps forward, and then suddenly an external, something outside happens, and we change how we're feeling. Maybe we go to a medical appointment, and one of our medical professionals says, you know what, you have more symptoms. I need to run more tests. I need to add a medication. And this causes a new emotion, and we go backwards. There's a lot of fluctuation with emotions when you're going through a grieving situation. One day you feel okay, the next day you don't. The most important thing to remember when you're grieving is every day is not going to be a 10 out of a 10, but it's okay. It doesn't have to be. You set the pace. When we're grieving, so often we don't think we have control. We think we've lost all the control. But you get to write your story. You have a blank canvas, and you get to paint that journey with the colors you want on your palette and any way you want. It's an individual experience based on your relationships with either someone who passed away, maybe it was a fur family member. Grief can be overwhelming if you've lost a family member or a fur family member. You've had a pet in your family for 13, 14 years. That's a deep level of grief when that fur family is gone. You get diagnosed with a disease, and it's difficult to accept and to handle that diagnosis often. So we're going along on our journey and we think things are okay, and then suddenly we have a trigger. Now, triggers can be anything going on outside of us. Sometimes it's a smell. Maybe you smell the cologne of somebody that you love that's gone. Maybe it's a memory. Maybe you've been driving and you hear a song that reminds us of somebody special, and you get that choked up feeling and you think, wow, where did that emotion come from? And some of these triggers can be strong. They can bring up anger. They can bring up a lot of different emotions. And sometimes people around us don't understand that. Where are the tears coming from? Why are you not happy today? And sometimes we ourselves don't always know why we're not happy today. Next slide, Louise. Kubler-Ross is somebody that some of you may be familiar with. She wrote a great book many years ago about grief. And I just wanted to acknowledge that her 5 stages of grief have been on the forefront of talking about grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Those are all normal emotions to have. Denial has always kind of been the one that has the bad rap. People say, oh, she's in denial. She hasn't accepted her diagnosis yet. Maybe you belong to a support group and you see people in that group and you think, wow, that person doesn't seem to be accepting their diagnosis. But on one level, denial is like that good old-fashioned egg timer that our moms used to use, and they'd flip it over and the sand would trickle through ever so slowly. And that's what denial does. It lets the sand of time trickle down slowly so that all of these external things that go on when we're diagnosed, or if we've lost something or someone important to us, we can slowly move toward acceptance on our terms. Now, denial is challenging if you get stuck there. Denial is challenging if you're not making medical appointments, if you're not accepting your diagnosis, if you're not listening to what your medical team is telling you to do. That's when denial can be dangerous. Anger. Anger is probably one of the hardest emotions for people because as young children, we are told, don't be angry. Why are you angry? Anger is something that can be difficult, but anger is something that we need to express. It's part of our journey in reaching acceptance. It's that frustration, that anxiety. I don't understand. I was healthy. I was taking care of myself. Things were going well in my life, and then boom, suddenly I got diagnosed. That's not fair. My life changed, and I had a plan. And of course, that's going to elicit some anger. When we talk about bargaining, bargaining can be that phase where you begin to start to wonder, if I do this, will something happen? Maybe if I go back to eating no gluten, no dairy, if I change the way I exercise, what can I do that might change my diagnosis? How can I bargain the way I'm living my life? If you are faith-based, often the bargaining will become a tool for faith-based. I'm going to turn this over to a higher power. Depression, as we talked about in the beginning for a minute. Depression is different than clinical depression. In order to have clinical depression, a mental health professional has to have given you the diagnosis. There's a very set criteria You have to be experiencing these things every single day. And if you have a concern about your mental health, it is critical that you talk to your medical team. Find somebody on your team of doctors, your primary care, your rheumatologist, your cardiologist, whoever it is that you can trust, that you feel confident enough to say, you know, I'm not feeling like myself. I'm not really sure why. Is this burnout? Is this part of my scleroderma journey? Or is this depression? Don't be embarrassed to use the D word. It's okay to say, I think I might be depressed. That doesn't make us a bad person. That makes us an advocate for ourselves to say, this is overwhelming. This is helpless feeling. Finally, Kubler-Ross talks about reaching acceptance, which is what we want to. We want to find that new normal. For some people, that's challenging. It's hard, and you don't always have the ability to do it. And that's okay to be where you are. Louise, next slide. So, shock and denial. You know, shock and denial, they're not just a psychological response. You didn't get diagnosed, you left the doctor's office, you got in the car and you said, what? I don't even know what that doctor said. Sclero, what? Derma, that's skin. I must have heard that person wrong. They gave me this little tiny pamphlet and I don't have a clue what that means. The shock and the denial are normal feelings. You're feeling confused, you're disorientated, and whether it's when you are newly diagnosed or 5 years in, when you begin to have other symptoms. Shock and denial can come anywhere along that journey, but it also can come with some physical things. Fatigue, being emotionally frozen. Suddenly, that project at work isn't as important. The wedding in the family that's coming up just doesn't have as much meaning because you are concentrating all of your energy on just trying to figure out how to take care of your medical needs. It's important to remember that shock and denial are natural. It's part of the grieving process. And you will move on. Allow yourself to feel that. Sometimes it feels like a detachment. Sometimes you're just frozen and you can't really feel. It will pass. They're not a permanent state. If you start to feel like you are stuck, that's when we talk to our medical professionals and we ask for help. Never be afraid to ask for help. If you feel like the emotions are getting to be too much to handle, it's okay to say to somebody in your medical team, you know, I just feel like I've been angry too much lately, or I just can't get past this feeling. Next slide. Pain and guilt. This really happens as that shock and denial wears off. And the pain and the guilt really is marked with some raw physical pain sometimes that hits that realization of loss. If you have lost a family member or a friend, this sometimes can hit after all of the funeral arrangements are done, after all of the cards and the letters and the casserole dishes have been eaten, and you're supposed to go back to life. All of the friends have stopped calling, they've stopped visiting, and this is when you're just supposed to go back and integrate back into life. This is true after a diagnosis. You kind of have told a few people, and now people just expect that you have reached acceptance, because everybody around you sees you and they think, well, okay, you have scleroderma. Got it. Now, are we still going out every Friday after you work 40 hours? Are we still going to go shop for 4 hours? And you're thinking, I don't have the energy to empty my dishwasher. I can't do what I did. So now I feel guilty that I can't keep up with the things that I did before. Physical symptoms, again, mimic a lot of the scleroderma symptoms. The fatigue, the change in appetite, sleep patterns. And this can be sleeping too much, sleeping too little, but a lot of these overlap our scleroderma symptoms, which means that it is so important that you make the decision to start to keep track of your symptoms, whether you do it in an app, on a phone, whether you do it on a good old-fashioned piece of paper, but you become aware of how's your pain level? How are your GI symptoms? How's your cardio doing? What's going on with your lungs? What's going on with your kidneys? Even if you just make a list of your things, including your mental health, head to toe, I tell people. And then just jot down 1 or 2 words. And if you don't know the right words to use smiley faces. That's perfect. Doctors can relate. In the hospitals, a lot of the pain charts are smiley faces. So we got a big smile when we're having a good day. We got a frown, and we got a line across when we're not really sure. Keep it simple. So when you walk into your next appointment, you can show the data to your medical team and you can say, you know, this is what's been going on since I last saw you. I'm not really sure what it means. And then you can begin to have an educated conversation about, is this grief? Am I just burned out because I'm doing too much? Is this my new medication? Or is this a normal scleroderma symptom? Be your best advocate for yourself, acknowledging that pain can cause a lot of physical issues, not just physical, but emotional. Because when we don't feel good physically, emotionally, it can be challenging. So if we are grieving, sometimes physically, that can cause pain. We know that support groups and being part of SPIN for as long as I have, almost 9 years now, I know the good research that's been done on support groups. Getting involved in a support group is so beneficial. If you try one and you say, this one didn't work, don't just walk away. Try another and another till you find the one that fits. Because this is a community of people that are going to be able to help you more than your loved ones, your caregivers, your friends, because they're people that are experiencing similar things. Everybody's journey is different. We can't give out medical advice. But what we can do is we can come together and talk about experiences. Somebody can nod their head when you're sharing a story, and suddenly you don't feel so alone. Suddenly it's like, wow, you mean you really got angry too? Because I thought I was the only one that was angry, and I didn't want to be angry because I felt then bad about being angry. Next slide. So a lot of feelings during this stage can come out. It's that overwhelming sadness, and no one likes to be sad. And sometimes we don't know what to do with our sadness. We don't know where to put it. Sometimes it goes in our belly. We don't feel hungry, or we're on the couch and we're eating Cheetos and Haagen-Dazs because we just don't know what we need. So we try everything. And then we have a bellyache and we're thinking, why did we eat the Cheetos? Why did we eat the Haagen-Dazs? That did not make me feel better. But in the time, it looked really yummy. That sadness creates a void that we want to fill because that sense of loss. And this is across the board for grieving. Maybe you were a military family and you moved a lot. Maybe your parents divorced. Maybe you had a divorce yourself. Maybe you broke up with somebody. Whatever the grief is, it's all the same. It's the yearning for life to be what it was before you were diagnosed, before the grief situation hit, before you lost somebody you loved. You're looking in that rearview mirror of life. And we know that when we're driving in a car, if we stare at the rearview mirror, what's going to happen? We're going to crash. We got to look forward, but that's hard. Next slide. We get to the anger and the bargaining. Again, nobody likes being angry. And a lot of times in the grieving process, people will attempt to drive around the anger. And especially if you are somebody that has a really sweet or a kind personality, you try to not be angry. But anger is a step toward healing. So people that have the personality where they're like, oh no, it's okay, I got diagnosed, everybody has something, and this is just my something. And you're thinking, oh, holy cow, you got a lot of somethings. And they're monotone little sweet voices, and they never go up, and they're never upset, and they show up at meetings, and they're so kind. And you're thinking, do you ever get mad? And they'll tell a story, and they'll say, the doctor made me wait for 2 hours, but I understand why that happened. And you're thinking, for 2 seconds, weren't you mad at the doctor? Didn't you say my time is valuable? And they're like, oh no, I understand. We're driving around the anger. But we have to face the anger. We have to kind of negotiate with anger. We have to say, even in a kind way, yes, my time is valuable. And when a doctor is 2 hours late, that means the rest of my day is late. Now, we don't have to go up to the counter and rage at the receptionist and let the receptionist know what time it is. They know what time it is. We have to take our anger and constructively do something with it. And for all of you, that's going to be something different. Your self-care techniques on how you deal with your emotions. Maybe you go for a walk. Maybe you paint a picture. Maybe you play solitaire. Maybe you read a book. Maybe you watch trashy reality TV and you enjoy every single minute. And you just sit there and go, this is my self-care technique. And I don't care if anybody knows I'm watching it because I love it. Whatever you do is your journey. When we get to that stage of bargaining, and again, some people are very faith-based and they bargain. Dear God, if you do this, I'm going to do this. And that's common. If it isn't a faith-based, it's like, okay, maybe I didn't drink enough water. I'm going to start drinking this much water. Maybe I didn't eat well. I'm going to change my diet. Maybe I didn't exercise enough. I'm going to do this. It's researching on Dr. Google, finding something and believing in the cause and the effect. I'm going to bargain. I'm going to change how my grief is by taking control. And the grief and the loss is really about the fact that we don't have the control we want. Something changed in our life. And our heart and our head can't meet in the middle. Logically, we may know that that beautiful little dog that we've had for 17 years had to be put to sleep. Our heart says, oh, heck no. I miss you every single day. You were the best thing that ever happened to me. Heart and head have to have time to catch up. You have to have your emotions, just like you do with your diagnosis. Next slide. Okay, we can go past this one. When we get to depression, and depression is that period of deep sorrow, it's really when, for a lot of people, they can get stuck in this sadness. It's once that shock, the chaos, you've begun to create a medical plan, and then you get stuck in the reality of, okay, this is what I have. This person is gone from my life. I have to move. I have to change my job. I'm getting divorced, whatever the grief situation is. Head says, okay, I got this. I'm logic. I understand I got diagnosed. I understand I'm getting divorced. I understand I have to leave my job. I understand my animal has passed away. But the heart hasn't moved, and we get stuck until we can get to the place where it all catches up. So during this depression stage, a lot of things can happen. Some people withdraw. I've heard a lot of people in the community that say, you know, Laura, for the first year after diagnosis, I didn't go anywhere. I didn't do much. I just kind of sat with the diagnosis. I didn't really even tell my family and my friends because I wasn't ready to create that elevator speech, that 3 to 5 sentences that told people I have scleroderma, because I didn't want to say the words. That introspection, checking out your emotions, reflecting on being ready to tell people. Sometimes that depression kicks in when you did create your elevator speech and you told your family. Maybe it was at a gathering, maybe it was during the holidays and you told people. How did they react? People react differently based on your relationship with them, based on how they understand the complexity of scleroderma. Now, we know researchers have difficulty understanding it. How can we possibly expect our loved ones? Creating that elevator speech is so important so that you can help your loved ones understand what scleroderma is. Not only what it is from a business card standpoint, but what is it to you? We can rattle off a definition of what clinically scleroderma is, but part of it, creating an elevator speech, means, what does it mean to me? What has this done to my life and how has it changed? And those elevator speeches are going to change based on who you're talking to. If it's a parent, you're going to feel more guarded. I hear often, well, I don't want to worry my mom. My mom is older. I don't want her to feel guilty. I don't want my parents to think they did something wrong. If it's children, it may be, well, I don't want my kids to know. I don't want them to be scared. If it's a partner or a loved one, for some reason, we think we have to buck it up and be the strong one. We don't want to let our guards down. So we create elevator speeches during this time when we're reflecting, and that's how we begin to tell our stories. I encourage you, wherever you are in your journey, and you're all different, think about the elevator speech that you tell people. Is it simply a definition of scleroderma, or is it a description of how beautiful you are? Are you defining scleroderma, or is scleroderma defining you? So often we forget. Look how big we are. I'm only 4'11 and a half, and I'm big. One thing does not define me. Don't allow one word to define you. You are so much more. The greatness within you is so much more than scleroderma. So when you create that elevator speech, think about just talking to people about how that scleroderma affects you. What changes does it have within your life? How we word things makes a difference on how people react toward us. Next slide. Go ahead. I did most of this. The upward, the turn stage, we are taking a turn. That roller coaster is going back up. The heavy fog is clearing the reality of the loss. Our heart and our head, it's catching up. Things are becoming better, more manageable. Now, does this mean that every day is a 10 out of a 10? Oh, heck no. No. We still come down that steps. We walk in the room every single day and our loved ones go, how are you? And sometimes we smile really big and we go, oh, I'm fine today. And you're thinking, no, it's a 2 out of 10. The upward turn stage means allowing yourself to be honest. First and foremost, be honest with yourself. If it's a 2 today, that's okay. Be loud and proud. Today's a 2. It could be a 0. We're at 2. That's 2 points toward a positive. When we try to minimize what we're feeling because we want to protect somebody else, it sets the stage that we can't go up and we can't be who we are. We want that sense of hope because with hope, we get energy. We get gratitude. And that's where our grief begins to turn to acceptance and adaptation. Emotionally, the upward stage takes a noticeably change. Now, does this mean that you stay there? No. Maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you're just cranking it, you're feeling positive, and then suddenly Thursday, boom, an external hit. Your pain is up. Your fatigue is up. Your GI symptoms. Hello, I can't leave the bathroom. Of course, you're not going to be at a 10 out of a 10. And that's okay. Grief, loss, scleroderma, it isn't linear. It doesn't have to be. It's your journey. Sometimes it goes straight, sometimes it turns to the right, sometimes it turns to the left. Part of the grieving process is learning how to go to the right, how to go to the left, how to bend when things change. But this is part of your healing journey. Next. With the upward turn stage, we see a decrease in that pain and that sadness. We start to calm ourselves down almost. We get into the medical aspect. We start to plan those medical appointments. We become a better advocate. And part of that means returning to normal, whatever that looks like. And the word normal is going to be defined by you. It's going to be the new normal. What do you want to do today? Are we going to have a celebrate me day? And if you don't know what that is, no day is unproductive. We have to change our language. So often people will say, what did you do today? Well, I did nothing, Laura. We don't have I did nothing days. We have, I celebrated me day. Your pain's at a 0 out of 10. You're in a ton of pain. I'm sorry, a 10 out of 10. Your fatigue's 10 out of 10 and your GI is 20 out of 10. You're not leaving the house. You got a list of 20 things that you plan to do, but your body had another plan. Today's a celebrate me day. We're dressing in our comfy clothes. We're going to stay close to home, and we're going to celebrate you. And what I mean by that is if somebody gave you a big box and they wrapped it up with a bow, you wouldn't just leave it. You'd open it up and you'd enjoy it. So often we look at the negative of our celebrate me days. We think, oh God, I'm not productive. I can't do anything. I didn't get anything accomplished today. Celebrate me days mean you did the most important thing today. You took care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't do anything else. The good thing about housework is it's always going to be there. It doesn't get done. And if yours is getting done somehow, please email me and let me know how, because mine does not get done. Dust just grows. I'm very meticulous and I dust all the time. And the funny thing is I go back the next day and it's right back. So the older I get, the smarter I get. And it's like I'll walk by and look at it and go, yeah, it'll be there tomorrow. Celebrate me days mean you are taking care of you. The burden of grief is lifting, and positive emotions and thoughts. Creating self-care techniques to take care of yourself on the days where your symptoms are rearing its ugly head and you need to take care of you. Next slide. The reconstruction and the working through stage. This is really where we're focusing on life transitions, because you can get diagnosed with scleroderma and then suddenly other things in life happens, because nothing can ever be one thing in life. Suddenly then you have to be a caregiver maybe. Maybe other things are going on. You've got a big move coming up. Maybe you have a family wedding. Maybe there's a death in your family. A lot of external things go on in our world while we're just trying to focus on a diagnosis. We're like, hey, okay, hold up, one thing at a time. I'm not getting this one handled. I don't want anything else. In the reconstruction and the working through stage, you're trying to rebuild your life. You're working through the grief. This is really a shift from heart to a more pragmatic, the head. Really looking at, okay, I got diagnosed. What do I need to do? Is my medical team what I need? Do I have head to toe coverage? Because so often we don't always think we need that specialist until something's broke. But what about being proactive? Have I had my eyes looked at? Somebody may say, well, I didn't know scleroderma affects the eyes. Getting in ears, nose, throat, heart, lungs, baseline check-up prior to having a problem creates the best advocacy for yourself. You're an established patient. You have a baseline checkup. And then if and when symptoms change, you have somebody already to call, versus waiting until you get the symptom and then you're sitting on a waiting list because you're a new patient. Reconstruction and working through phase is when you can do your best work. You can be proactive. You are going to devise strategies for coping, becoming more resilient. Okay, I got diagnosed. Yep, not going to define me. I'm going to do what I need to do. Maybe I'm going to get involved. I'm going to do some advocacy. I'm going to do some volunteer work. Because when I'm doing something, I'm giving back. It's also time for our heart to heal. It's time for us to work through the practical aspects of loss. Because heart and head ultimately have to meet in the middle before our grief can really be processed. Before we can create that new sense of identity and we really figure out what our new normal is going to look like. Next slide, Louise. We can go next. Acceptance and hope stage. So acceptance, adaptation, hope. Acceptance, adaptation, hope. This is really marked by coming to terms with your loss, looking toward the future. Because if we spend all our time looking in the past, we're going to crash and we're never going to get anywhere. Why me? What did I do wrong? I shoulda, coulda, woulda. If this didn't happen, I probably wouldn't have gotten scleroderma. All those things in the past are not productive. But if we also spend all our time looking in the future, we're missing the present. And most of us live like that. We're looking back, we're looking forward, and we forget what we got right here today. Even those celebrate me days. Part of acceptance and hope stage is starting to focus more on today. What can I control? Mindful gratitude, maybe creating a gratitude journal. I have people that every single day they have a jar. You decorate the jar. Every day they write out something they're grateful for. Every day they write out something that they did for somebody else. Whatever you decide you're going to put in the jar. And then at the end of the year, they dump it out on New Year's Eve and they read it all. And what it really signifies is, look what I have done. Because so often we don't think about all the good things we do. We only think about the bad things. Acceptance and hope brings us in that looking forward perspective where we can start to plan. Next slide. Next one. So there's a lot of aspects that are really important in managing grief and loss. One, obvious, we have to get to acceptance. Everybody wants to feel like their life is calm, like they've got acceptance of the situation. They understand their limitations. They want to move forward. Resiliency. Resiliency is a really important navigation tool that people want to develop. It's a coping mechanism to get through those difficult days. To be able to say, I had 3 celebrate me days this week, and I feel okay about it. Even though I can't do the things I used to do, I'm okay where I'm at. That resiliency. Really focusing on the present. Looking toward the future. Appreciating the things you've done in your past because they've helped you become who you are. And even our struggles today help make us who we are. And one of the really big important ones is communication. How do we talk to the people around us? Do we ask for help? Do we tell people how we feel? It is very hard for people to ask for help. People don't like to ask for help often. What does it take for you to ask for help? Are you able to say to somebody in your world, you know, thank you for inviting me, but I'm going to pass? Or do you just go? You go into a family event and they say, hey, will you bring that really wonderful casserole that you make? And you're thinking, you gotta be kidding me. I don't have enough energy to take a shower and I gotta make a casserole. Do you have the ability to communicate openly and say, I would love to come, but I just don't have the energy this week to make the casserole. If I can next time, I would. Can I stop at the store and pick something up? That's an important aspect of managing the grief and loss. Saying, yep, that is a really good casserole and it's fun, but it takes way too much energy. And if I make the casserole, I'm not going to enjoy myself because I'm going to be too tired. Next slide. Not all symptoms in scleroderma, as you guys well know, are created equally. It is really important that you track your symptoms, as I spoke about, and you monitor. It's important that you're honest with yourself about how you're feeling. And it's also important when grieving that you remember to talk to somebody in your medical team. Find that person that you feel comfortable with and talk to them about any new symptoms you have. Even if you don't think it's related to anything, it's important to be open and honest with your medical team. And then ask them, could this be medication? Could this be I'm burned out? Hey, I'm caregiving for somebody. I just got a new puppy. I'm, doing this, I'm doing that. Or is it part of my grief and loss? Or is it part of my scleroderma journey? Asking good questions are going to help you. Data provides solution for your medical teams. Figure out what your boundaries are. Know what your limits are. Know what your needs are. To become the best version of yourself, you need to have to set boundaries for loved ones, family, caregivers. You have to know what your own limits are, and you have to know what your needs are. Next slide, please. Key strategies for facing grief and loss. Really, you want to learn to accept your emotions. And sometimes you feel like you're on a roller coaster and you forgot the helmet. Because some days you wake up and you just don't feel like yourself. You can't figure out why you're angry, why you're sad. Just remember not to suppress the feeling. If it's a sad day, try and do something to make yourself laugh. Maybe turn on something on TV that's a comedy. Maybe look at something, that's funny, or puppies or kittens or, little babies on TikTok or social media or whatever you use to make yourself smile. Accept the emotion, but look for a healthy outlet to overcome it. If you get stuck, don't hesitate to talk to somebody about it. Build a supportive network. Surround yourself with people that understand and can offer emotional support. Find at least one person in your world that you can use your own language. You don't have to sugarcoat it. You can tell that person exactly what you feel. And if you don't have that one person, then I encourage you to go out and try to find that person. Whether it be in a faith-based relationship, whether it be in your support group or in your community, find somebody that you can feel like you've got an outlet to say, you know what, I don't feel well and I'm really tired of this, or I'm frustrated with my medical team, or you know what, my caregiver really, really makes me mad sometimes because they're always trying to do stuff for me. and I want to do it. And yes, it takes me too long. Focus on small wins. You know, find your joy, guard your joy, and share your joy. And then focus on the small wins. Celebrate even the smallest achievement. You got out of bed and you brushed your teeth. You're killing it. That's a great day. That's okay. You don't have to do more than that. Who said you had to make the bed? The good thing if you don't make it is it's easier when you have to get back in it. It's okay to not strive for perfection. We always think everything has to be perfect, but perfect is only defined by everybody else. Maybe your perfect now is, yeah, I put the pillow on top of the really designer one, and that looks nice enough. Define your own perfect, and don't let anybody else rain on it. Your perfect is just right for you. And practice gratitude. We talked about this. A journal, writing it down, whatever. Don't put your head on a pillow at night without having a mental conversation, even on the worst of days. Rattle off 3 things that you're grateful for. And I'll give you a freebie. You can actually say, I'm grateful this day is over. I've done that. I have literally laid down and said, okay, yeah, this is tough. I got to get to 3. All right, 1, I'm really glad I'm in bed. I'm shutting my eyes and this day is over. Okay, that's 1. That's a good one. Yes, I am. I liked it. I got through this really crappy day and it's over and I'm laying down. That's 1. Find 2. Look out your window. Look at the stars. Whatever you have to do to get to 3. The more we practice gratitude, the easier it becomes. Set realistic goals. I encourage you to set a goal every week. Walk halfway to the driveway, down the driveway. It doesn't have to be the whole driveway. Start out with half the driveway. Now, don't go out gangbusters and say, I'm going to walk 4 miles a week, every day. Every day. Unrealistic. First of all, you're going to get tired. Second of all, you're going to get bored. Third of all, you've got too much other things to do. Set small goals. And then forgive yourself if you don't do it. If you had 3 or 4 celebrate me days that week, it's okay if you didn't get halfway down the driveway. It's okay. And remember to engage in activities that you enjoy. Next slide. Facing grief and loss when necessary. If you're having challenges mentally, seek professional help. There's a lot of different layers in the mental health field. A life coach can just help you with some goals. Life coaches are really fun to work with. They can just help motivate you. A counselor, a therapist, a psychologist, a psychiatrist. There's a lot of different levels in that field. Find the one that meets your needs. And if you go to one and you don't like that person, don't just stop. Shop around and find the right fit. It's like a good, comfortable pair of shoes or a good, comfortable pair of blue jeans. It takes time to find that right fit. And that's true of the mental health professionals. Not everybody's meant to work with you. I tell people in my practice, if you don't like me, you will not offend me by not coming back. You will anger me that you kept coming back and I took your money and I didn't meet your needs. Find the person, or I will help you find the person that meets your needs. I'm not for everybody. Maybe you need somebody that's going to be, a lot harder on you. Maybe you need somebody that isn't going to have the same technique I do. Find the person that meets your needs. Prioritize self-care, whatever that is for you. Self-care is defined by you in your journey. Figure out what you like to do and do it. And find a community, a support group, an online forum, educational experiences, whatever that looks like. Next slide. Really important points to remember when facing grief. We want to try to be as positive as we can. But it's okay, excuse me, to not be okay. Don't feel pressured to always be positive. Allow yourself the grace to have a bad day, 2 bad days, a bad week. Sometimes it's a bad month. It's okay. That's okay. And acceptance doesn't mean that you're resigning yourself. It means you're adapting and you're finding a new way to live a meaningful life, defined by you. Remember, blank canvas. Any color you want to paint on that canvas, whatever you want it to be. We went to school and people told us a tree had to be green. No, you want a purple tree, paint it purple. It doesn't matter. Acceptance doesn't mean that you're saying, I give up. It means I'm adapting. And focus on a quality of life. Prioritize activities and experiences that bring you joy, that bring you fulfillment. Don't focus on what you can't do. Focus on what you can and what brings you joy. Next slide. Important to remember, don't compare your grief to others. You go to a meeting and somebody's experiencing things different than you are. Don't get off that session or drive home and think, what's wrong with me? How come I haven't reached acceptance? There's nothing wrong with you. You're driving in a different car, you're on a different road, and it's your journey. Roll the window down, let your hair blow a little, and accept that this is your journey and you get to do it your way. Everybody's different. Be patient with yourself. Healing takes time. If you have a sad day, a bad day, a mad day, it's okay. And it's okay to laugh or find moments of joy even when you're grieving. Allow yourself to experience a full spectrum of emotions. And laughter and humor are important. I once had one of our really good researchers in the United States, a rheumatologist, did a talk for us. And one of the things she said is, as busy as she is every night, she goes to bed and she sits there and she does 5 minutes of faith-based prayer, 5 minutes of journaling, 5 minutes of mindful, but 5 minutes of some type of comedy and laughter. And she said, the difference is it has to be belly laughter. She said, I don't care how bad my day is, I have to have belly laughter. That was 15 years ago, she said that to me. And I, to date, do the same thing. I turn on a sitcom, I find something funny, and I make sure that even on the days where I don't think I can stop crying, that I find that joy and my belly is laughing, because that's the joy that gives us the hope. That's what you want to hold on to. Next slide. Why do we have to be positive? It gives us emotional regulation. It helps us balance. We're going to build that resistance. We're going to start making positive memories. If you are newly diagnosed, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years in, I don't care where you are in your journey, and you feel like, Laura, this is never going to get better. I'm just stuck. I'm here to tell you, no, you are on the road. It just doesn't feel like it some days. You'll begin to make that positive memory. You'll begin to find meaning. Being positive gives us a mental health. We know that studies suggest that when we have positive emotions, laughter, joy, gratitude, mindfulness, when we add that to our grief journey, it reduces the symptoms of depression. When we make social connections, it helps us to engage. When we stay connected, don't get isolated. That's one of the worst things we can do, is shut ourselves off from people. Next slide. Don't suppress negative emotions. Positive grieving doesn't mean ignoring or suppressing any of those tougher emotions. It means you're finding a balance. In your grief, your journey with scleroderma is individual. You go to a meeting, you hear a lot of people tell their stories. Don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself. You're doing a great job. You're where you need to be right now because you're on your own journey. Be proud of where you're at. Be proud of what you accomplish. Be proud of how you've gotten here. Even if it's been a bumpy ride, it's okay. It's part of that individual journey that we have to take to get to where we need to be in life. And sometimes it's bumpy and uncomfortable, and we don't like uncomfortable. Try to find the positivity. Next. Communicating with caregivers, family members, and loved ones. This is really, really important part of not only the grieving process, but I wanted to include it because a lot of times when we're grieving, we tend to get quiet and we don't tell people because we don't want to burden somebody. Or maybe you did tell somebody and they shut you down. You send out that long text to a family member because you're hurting and you want to share. Boom, you get back a text like, hey, I didn't ask you to tell me that. And you're thinking, whoa, well, okay then. I guess I'm not going to tell you. Internally, that's painful. We put ourselves out there in the world and we look for validation. We look for people to help embrace us in that time when our lives are bumpy. We got diagnosed with something and we're not feeling comfortable. It's important even when people around you are not validating. They're not able to share their emotions properly. That you can express your feelings. We can't control how somebody reacts, but you can control how you communicate. Validate the role of the people in your life, whether it's family, caregivers, or whoever. You know, in our worlds, we don't take time to validate. I appreciate everything you do for me. You really support me. Thank you so much. It's the small things we say to people that mean a lot. Remember to share specific needs. Let them know how they can best support you. If you don't tell your loved ones what you need, they can't help you. And I know it's hard to ask for help. Maybe your kitchen needs to be revamped. You've got scleroderma. If your hands are beginning to contour, you can't reach things anymore. Maybe you need to think about revamping the kitchen. Now, pots and pans, they've always been in that one cupboard. The can opener's always been in that one drawer. In our brains, we say, oh no, I can't move things. That's where it's always been. Heart and head need to connect, and we need to talk with our loved ones and say, you know, this doesn't work anymore. I need to redo the layout of the kitchen. I can't reach as high anymore. My arm doesn't go that direction. Talking about making your home joyful and adaptable for you, whatever that might look like. Hey, making the bed is challenging. Putting that bottom sheet on is hard. But you know what? I don't want to give up making the whole bed because I've already given up too much. So could you put the bottom sheet on, but I'll do the rest. Now, it may take me half a day because you put the bottom sheet on, I'm going to put the top sheet on. I'm going to go watch The Price is Right and rest. And then I'm going to go put my pillowcases on. And then I'm going to go watch a little bit of a soap opera. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to put the comforter on. But the bed got made and I did it. And I got to also watch a little bit of TV. Celebrate Me Day. I did it my way. Who said you got to do it all at one time? The bed didn't go anywhere. You didn't go anywhere. You adapted your life. The dishwasher. It's hard to empty for a lot of people that have scleroderma. That becomes a bone of contention. I did a whole educational day once with caregivers and loved ones and people living with scleroderma, and we had the funnest time talking about things in the home. And caregivers were like, why won't she just let me do the laundry? And the people living with scleroderma said, why can't I just do it my way? Now, the loved one is thinking from their head, I want to help you. The person living with scleroderma is like, you're not helping me. You're taking that away from me. You're telling me I can't do it. But I can. Communicate. Learn how to adapt with each other. It helps that grieving process lessen. Part of the communication means being patient. Remember your caregivers and your family members, they love you so much that they are giving you this gigantic hug of love that sometimes feels like they're choking you because they want to do everything. They want to do it their way, in their timing. And they're not really thinking that that little love hug is choking you. So if you're feeling choked, you need to say, I got this, but I can only fold half of the load and I'll do the rest tomorrow. And it's okay if it's a little bit wrinkled because nobody sees the undershirts anyhow. It's okay. We don't need perfection. We just need celebrate me. Ask questions. If somebody's doing something that's irritating you, ask them questions about why they're doing it. And set boundaries. This is what I'm not ready to give up. This is what I am. And in the end of the day, remember, it's a bed, it's grocery shopping, it's dishwashing, it's cooking. Stop and think. Work harder, smarter, not harder, and figure out what you can do to make your life easier. And sometimes we have to give up some things. Sometimes we have to say, okay, I'm going to have the groceries delivered because it's exhausting to go to the grocery store. Don't make everything about grief and loss. Sometimes it's just about finding joy, because if you're not spending half a day exhausting yourself doing a task that somebody else can do, what can you do in that time? Maybe take a class. Maybe go for a walk. Read an extra book. If you don't have a celebrate me day, have a I don't got this day. Communicate with your family. Hey, I'm having a I don't got it this day. This isn't my best day. Whatever it is, communicate. Next slide. The 3 C's of grief are really easy. Choose what's best for you, nobody else. Nobody else. You get that selfish lens. It's all about you. Choose what's best for you. Your journey. Connect. I cannot tell you how important it is to join a support group. And I don't get paid to state that. Join a support group. Find that family, that friendship, that group where somebody's nodding their head and they're saying, yes, I feel like that. Don't isolate. Find resources and communicate openly. Share your needs with people because people can't help you unless you do that. Next one. Before I answer any questions, just to wrap up, I know I covered a lot. Your heads are probably out to here with everything. The most important thing is grief and loss is part of our life. Almost every single day, on some level, we have to face this. You get to do it your way, in your time. I encourage you to be mindful, to communicate, to celebrate you. Don't just think about what I can't do. Think about how you can adaptively change something so you can do anything. Maybe you can't do it the same way you did, but you can do it differently. Less than is just as much as greater than. If it takes twice as long, that doesn't mean anything. Celebrate you. Every day is a celebration about you. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Not only with yourself, but with those that love you. Question and answer time. Let's open it up.